Google Plus, a Google Hangout with Osnat Dror, who is my former Israeli host sister from many years ago. I'm not going to go into how long ago that was, but I came and stayed at your home in Ramat Gan many years ago. What do you remember about that? This was a pleasant visit that I remember.
Yeah, it was definitely a pleasant visit for me because it was nice to get a U.S. Student, staying in my house. But I think that the most important thing is that this visit gave you, as a U.S. citizen, the opportunity to see the Israeli lives. I would say that I don't want to say how many years ago it was, but like 20 years ago, I would say that the situation in Israel was a little bit different, maybe, and now I would say it's much safer being in the Israeli street or visiting Israel, definitely. But you see, unfortunately, we have still the same neighbors. So when something happens, we can't avoid it. So we are in a crazy reality right now.
When I was there, and here's where I'm going to date both of us, it was during the first Intifada, correct? So there was activity between the Palestinians and the Israelis at that point. And I brought up something to you that you actually didn't remember, and this stood out to me because nothing like this had ever happened to me before. Nothing has happened to me since, but it was my 18th birthday. We were on a bus. We were going to my birthday celebration, and all of a sudden the bus stops. Two Palestinians had gotten off the bus and left a box behind, and they had to call the bomb squad. And I remember being terrified. And this has always stuck with me, but you say, that happened all the time back then. You don't remember it.
Yeah, well, we are talking about more than 20 years ago when there was, it was the first Intifada. There was no limit or border, or as you know, there is a wall now between the Israelis and the West Bank. So now, I mean, back then it was crazy days. There were bombs all over, in buses especially. It was terrified. And when you mention it, and I didn't remember actually, and this is correct, it's not that I have been in so many cases when we found the special bags or packages or whatever, but we always, we grew up into reality when we know that we have to have our eyes opened all day, every day, and it can happen. And this is something I think that it was unusual 25 years ago, but I think during those days, it is relevant to every country or every place around the world. This is not something the extreme Muslims or the Islams is something that was back then 25 years ago, something really unique when you came to visit Israel. But when you go in big cities all over the world, not only in Israel now, you have to keep your eyes open. You saw it in the U.S. in the 9/11 terror attack, and there's so many other places and situations. So I think that because we are used to it, our sensitivity, I'm speaking about civilians, I'm speaking about the advanced technology that we have, generally speaking about security. We are much more ahead than most of the world because we have such a bad experience. So this back then was terrifying. I think now it's terrifying all over the world. So we are not unique now these days, unfortunately.
You mentioned the wall that went up about 5 to 7 years ago, and you had said to me before that Iron Dome went up about 3 years ago. Tell us what Iron Dome is, and you in fact saw it in action on an early morning run. Both of us are runners.
We have an alarm now. Adela, I'm in an alarm now. Okay. Adela?
Yes.
I'm going into the shelter. I'm calling you back, okay? Bye.
Okay.